Welcome to the Returning Raven, Clarity Points for Truth, where we look closer at the yoga you don't know, the one with hidden forms, worldview, sorcery, and philosophy that clouds and deceptively influences culture, church, family, and you. I'm Dr. Alana Arguello. It's time to leave the fog, get out of the gray, and into the light. Join me today at the Clarity Point. Hello, welcome back to the Returning Raven, Clarity Points for Truth. I'm your host, Dr. Alana Arguello. Today, we are highlighting posture, or chapter 23, titled Getting to Know Shiva, from my book, Unearthing Yoga's Ancient Roots, Exposing Sorcery and Its Transcultural Reach, available on Amazon. The one called the Lord of Yoga is Shiva, who is the destroyer, the most worshipped and feared deity of Hinduism, historically, the god of yoga. According to data, today Shiva is the god Hindus feel the closest to, even though some 1.2 billion adherents can choose from millions of deities. They choose Shiva. Recently, a large Hindu foundation informs us that Shiva is influencing people around the world currently, even if they don't knowingly worship him. They openly tell us that around the world, anyone that is practicing yoga is being influenced by him, whether they realize it or not. In an early Vedic text, he is thought to be Rudra, or the fearful and vengeful. It is believed he was originally described in adjectives and later summed up into the god of yoga. This is speculated to be because he was so feared, not in respect for his awe, not that kind of fear, but the terrified sort of fear, because he was a vengeful destroyer. But that would change. Cultural integration of diverse groups, languages, and practices may have encouraged kings to worship many gods in a spirit of tolerance. This is thought to possibly be how the Vedic people moved toward worshiping Shiva over time. This god of yoga, Shiva, has been written to have been depicted initially as, I'm going to give you a list here, the one who roars, a lone wolf, a contemplative ascetic, a storm god. I might mention here that Baal was also a storm god, Lord of the dance, and the originator of rhythm, the recurring pattern of sound, movement, the foundation of music. Remember, the Bible tells us Satan was in charge of music worship before he fell. Also, please make note here, dance in religious studies of the ancient world is understood as spiritual exercises, not social jubilees. This is the difference here too in the Bible. The dance around the golden calf that you read about in your Bible was a spiritual exercise in unison. Whereas to contrast that, David, as we read, the English also says danced there. He danced behind the ark. This is a different dance. David was not doing a religious spiritual exercise, but rather was praising, jumping, dancing in joy. But again, the golden calf dance that you read in English in your Bible that the Israelites were doing was actually a spiritual exercise, something in unison. So when Shiva is called the Lord of the dance, it is rhythmic spiritual exercise. Okay, back to more descriptions and names of Shiva. He's the bringer of disease and death. He's the one that will bring disease and death, or that has brought disease and death. He is both male and female, so really I should be saying he, she here. And we'll get to later, that wouldn't even really be the proper. We need to be trans-neutral when describing Shiva. Shiva was the divine shepherd, the overseer of the world. Note, Satan is called the prince, in the Greek, the chief prince of this world. The definition of overseer is the managing chief. Shiva wears a necklace of skulls. Shiva is the lord of thieves and robbers. Doesn't Satan come to steal, kill, and destroy. All things that are references to Shiva. But also remember, he was called the divine shepherd. Didn't Jesus say all before him were thieves and robbers? Shiva's hair is serpents, which this is also seen in other descriptions of pagan gods in other regions. Shiva is known for drunken destruction. Interesting how the Bible describes a spiritual drunkenness that takes the minds of the people and destroys them. Shiva travels with the white bull. Remember, Baal in the Bible is associated with what? The bull. He, she, Shiva, also is the god of fertility, and so was Baal. Shiva is devoid of attributes, but worshipped as one beyond space and time. Sounds slightly similar to the Allah of Islam. Shiva is the lord of the beast. This lord of the beast holds a musical instrument, an axe, and an antelope, or some reference a deer. He also holds arrows, quivers, bow, and other weapons. Shiva holds weapons that typically are understood as used for hunting, for various reasons with various meanings in mythology, but includes, for example, the axe Shiva uses to destroy and kill the ego mind of humans. Sounds like a mighty hunter. Lots of hunting weapons and used to destroy human minds. Of course, the mythology promises this is for your own good, but it's interesting, nonetheless, from a biblical point of view. Curiously, there is some resemblance here to Nimrod, for whatever it's worth. Shiva has marks on his forehead, 3 parallel lines spelling out the syllables A-U-M, which you might know as Om. You've heard of Om in the culture, O-M, drawn with ashes from cow dung or sometimes chalk. Represents the Trinity of Hinduism. This is Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, Shiva. And each line contains 9 deities, each in which devotion then offers worldly pleasures and salvation. So, a false trinity is also representative of yoga. The ancient world had false trinities, like the Babylonian Semiramis and Nimrod and Tammuz. Shiva also identifies with the all-seeing third eye, which is an occult symbol. So Shiva is associated with the crescent moon, which is found in Babylonian, Persian, and later, of course, Islam. Shiva also has a trident, drum, snake, which his snake is there to watch closely those that engage in yoga. So just so you know, if you are practicing yoga, the snake is watching you. And Shiva also has prayer beads around him. That's right. Prayer beads did not start with Catholicism or even Islam. Prayer beads or lotus beads are a yoga worship tool promoted by the god of yoga, Shiva. Feel free to go further in the chapter in this book to look at his poison and the dead ash he wears from the dead. The image worshipped still today of Shiva is the Shiva Linga, which is typically made of stone, preferably quartz, as it has no color and can take on the color of what it comes in contact with. This is important. They choose quartz because it has no color and takes on the color, it's a chameleon, of what it comes in contact with. Thus, representing Shiva and yoga's ability to shift and change. I've talked about several times on this show how yoga can adapt. Sometimes things in our culture are in fact yoga, and things that are in the church, they're yoga, but they are not called yoga. I've also talked about in yoga how the voices that you hear or images that you see, the entities will appear as the God that you want them to appear as. They have abilities to shift and change, take pieces. They have lots of forms, and they can pick and choose what's going to get applied to whom and to what time period and what culture. This is the shifting ability, the bending ability of yoga. The Shiva Linga is partly shaped to represent the cosmic egg with a rounded cylinder that protrudes out. It represents fertility, creation, nature, power, and healing. Did you catch that? The worship of Shiva has something to do with fertility eggs. Worshipping and focusing on it releases Shakti energy. So the image of the Lord of the Beast can directly communicate to a person. I think we should take a minute to let that sink in. The Antichrist is the beast. The Antichrist, there's going to be an image, right? And so I'm not saying this is just it. I think it'll be a little bit more complex than that. I wouldn't be surprised if it's connected with AI. However, think about it. In yoga doctrine, in yoga worship, including worship today, the Shiva Linga, the Shakti energy, this is a female principle energy that moves through. It's for the Python goddess that moves through your body when you practice yoga. So it makes it happen. They focus on the Shiva Linga so that the image of Shiva, the Lord of the Beast, can directly communicate to them. Perhaps Christians involved in yoga, as we move more into the end times, should reconsider their participation in such telling powers of deception. Perhaps, church, we should all choose this day whom we will serve and get the pagan worship out for good. Thank you for joining me today on The Returning Raven. I'm your host, Dr. Alana Arguello. I look forward to seeing you at the next Clarity Point for Truth. Thank you for joining me today on The Returning Raven. I'm Dr. Alana Arguello. For a closer look again at truth, I'll see you at the next Clarity Point.